Good afternoon, ladies.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Pretty good.
Before we begin, just let me introduce myself. My name is Titus Rich Jr., and I'm going to act as the mediator for your session this evening. And there's some things I want to talk to you about, say to you before you actually do your mediation session. You've come to a place, you've probably seen the acronyms, that is IMCR. That stands for the Institute for Mediation and Conflict Resolution. And that may not mean anything to you, but what IMCR is what is called a Community Dispute Resolution Center, meaning that in the 62 counties of the state of New York, there are places set aside, such as IMCR, which will give people such as yourself an opportunity to come and discuss some things that you feel is important to you. Things where the police are not involved, the courts are not involved, you don't want them involved, you don't want other people involved in it, yet you have an opportunity to come and talk about the situation that brought you here privately and confidentially and voluntarily. And you will do that through the process of mediation. Now, IMCR is not a court of law where we are concerned about people telling the truth or maybe lying. It's just a forum where you can just say what's on your mind and don't worry about it. And as I said, it's voluntary and private as best as it is here, and it's also confidential. Now, what I mean by confidential is that whatever is said in the room is supposed to stay in the room, meaning that I, as a person, as a mediator, could not be called into court if your situation goes further than this. I could not be called to testify as to what you said here. You cannot use what is said here to each other in a court of law. You've already signed a confidential form, a consent form, which expresses that portion of the confidential law. Now, having said that, there is an exception to the confidentiality of this process, and that is if I, as a mediator, feel that I hear some things that might be considered child abuse while you're talking, my responsibility as a mediator is to notify the director of the mediation center, who might do some follow-up on that. And that's about it. However, in the process of talking, or at the end of your talking, if you come up with some type of written agreement, that written agreement may become a public document, and someone else, maybe a lawyer or somebody later on, a judge, someone later on, should be able to tell you whether it's legal or not. Now, every one of us, all three of us are going to play some roles here. We're going to play a part. Your role as participants in the mediation process is to tell your stories. Tell each other your story. You're not going to tell it to me. You're going to tell it to each other. And you're going to listen to each other so that each one of you can understand where the other one is coming from and try to understand where each other is coming from. My role as a mediator is to facilitate that discussion and to listen to you and try to clarify things that may be a little nebulous, try to clarify your things in your discussion, and to not take sides. As a mediator, I'm supposedly neutral, and I will not take either side. I will not also make the decision of the outcome of this discussion, and it's going to be left up to you. Do you have any questions on that so far?
No, it was clear.
Now, I have some pencil and paper here, and I may be taking some notes. You could also use the pencil and paper to take some notes if you wish to do so, because sometimes when you start talking to each other, we have a tendency to talk over each other, and you don't want that to happen. When you do that, you might not be understood. So you will write down while the other person is talking, and when it's your turn, or when you want to say something, you go ahead and know what you want to talk about. Now, if I write some stuff down, some notes, I'm going to rip my notes up after the session is over, because I can't leave stuff around. And anyway, if you write some notes, you can't use those notes, maybe of what someone said, because you've already said that you're not supposed to do that, and you wouldn't do that. So that's what we are looking at in terms of taking notes. Now, we have some ground rules, at least I do. And my basic ground rules are that there should be no name calling. You try not to use words to inflame each other. You try not to, you don't use curse words and stuff like that, and you don't want to touch each other. And you also want to remain seated throughout the process. Now, there are some expectations that I have of you. Oh, by the way, are there any other ground rules that you two would like to have? Is there anything that you might want?
If I need to go to the ladies' room, can I get out?
Oh, sure. There's no problem there. Now, I expect that you kind of, while you're talking, find out what it is that actually caused you to want to come to mediation. So quite often when people are talking or when people are in a kind of conflict situation, they will talk about things that happened to them physically or openly, but they won't touch on what the feelings are behind it and things that happen, such as an idea, or thought, or feeling, or something that somebody said or did, and it bothers them, and it keeps the process, the conflict going. So while you're talking, I want you to try to find out what that is. And once you find out what that is, then you decide how you want to handle that. And that part of finding out what you want to do with the cause of your conflict could be the basis of working out some type of agreement. Is that understood?
Yes.
Do you have any questions as how the process is going to proceed from there? Okay, now since Miss, may I call you or refer to you as Miss Courant?
Yes.
And may you be referred to as Miss Loriano?
Yes.
Okay, since Miss Courant brought the allegation first, we're going to ask her to begin.